All right, hello everybody, guys. We are going to be doing a little bit of first-person coaching here with Manid, and we are going to be taking a look at Manid's habits. Manid's just had a warm-up game there. Didn't get to watch too much other than the fact that there was a lot of what we describe usually as, I believe, fuckery. So
Yeah, be very accurate.
So I didn't get to watch too much. Obviously, lots of little distractions and thing. And that was it the first gate proxied? Was that like second gate? Did the units come off that at all?
I couldn't tell. He had his second gate coming down in his base when I scouted, which just looked like a two-gate expand.
Well, you
I'm
should
actually
probably,
going to watch it real quick.
yeah, you should probably check that replay because that's what those games. There's like every second matters, right? You know,
Yeah.
every little thing matters. No, I'm just gonna.
I screwed up my scouting timing too, because he had like a first pylon scout. I mean, look how early that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bring the production tab up. So you didn't? Did you know the zealot was coming?
Yeah, no, I didn't see it till it showed up.
So you could have pulled an extra SCV down there ahead of time if your SCV noticed it. So if you go right back when your SCV scouted, you should have seen that the gateway was building. Or in fact, you walked right past the zealot. Okay.
Yeah.
Which it happens.
Should have been a giveaway.
Yep. Small little
I
thing.
think
Obviously,
I
was
just
kind of talking in the background and stuff, so you do have a few extenuating circumstances, but
yeah, I'm gonna blame you for all of this. Actually,
that's
it makes me feel better.
You've got a running excuse all day today, mate. So, and
Perfect.
okay, let me get me stream open. Fantastic. I've got it on my phone here, so while I'm writing notes, I've got a bit of an odd setup because we're capturing this on my streaming PC. But yeah, so
I'm actually gonna change.
What do you think?
Sorry, one second.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, I just swapped to voice activated, so I don't need to press a button.
Oh, no worries. In before we get wrecked by crazy keyboard noise, nah, it should be fine. So what was the main problem in that game? Did you just not have any detection?
Yeah, I didn't. I noticed it was DTs too late, and I didn't have any detection. And this is kind of one of those things that I'm hoping to work on currently, which is I have such a habit of using my mules. Every second I have the energy that even though I knew something was coming, I still drop mules. What I should have been saving for scans.
Oh, everyone's done that. Yeah, I mean, I do that all the time where I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to save scans just in case, and I drop a mule, and I'm like, because it's a deep mechanical habit. But did you know that he was still one base?
Yeah, I did. I sent my Reaper over. I scouted that he had a third gateway finishing and no expansion, so I knew it was either proxy Stargate or proxy DT.
And were you
so
going
I threw down
Raven or Engineering Bay, or?
I actually threw down an Engineering Bay, and it finished right after they showed up in my natural. But I couldn't stop him from breaking down my wall before I was able to get a missile turret up on the high ground.
Right. Okay, cool. Whenever you're ready, let's search another game, by the way. So that should be all fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's just lowering your volume a little bit, but it should be good. Oh, this is fun. Just kind of fun being able to watch your first-person view and see things a little bit differently.
Good luck, have fun, and
beat them. The stream on my phone is super delayed there. Oh my god, it's like 10 seconds behind for some reason. What the hell? It's cool. Mog Skynet. That's a name I recognize. I think maybe I've run into that guy on the ladder.
Minerals now. Get him.
What's going on? Bad news?
Not enough minerals.
He's a bit higher for me, a bit out of my normal MMR bracket.
Huh? Go ahead. In the rear with the gear. Move it.
Minerals now. Get them. Not enough minerals.
Yo. What's going on?
Minerals now. Get them. Not enough minerals. Minerals now. Get them.
Ah! You scared? In the rear with the gear. SCV ready. Huh? Big job, huh? Go ahead. SCV ready.
Our SCVs are under attack.
Ah! You scared me. What's going? Who wants some? Armed and ready.
Command center got better.
Big job.
Not enough minerals. Minerals now. Get them.
This better be. Huh? Gangway. Coming. It's go time. Been waiting on you. What's going on? SCV ready.
Landing sequence interrupted.
Ah! In the rear with the gear. Don't leave me.
Commander, the LZ is gonna be a no-go on this one. Finish.
Land that barracks. Now's your chance. Or, yeah,
What's going on? Bad news.
get those marauders to counterattack. Yeah.
Base is under attack.
In the rear with big job. It's on. Just
If you get your marauders in between the mineral line, yeah, he's pulled his probes too early.
SCVs, they're under attack.
gangway. We could use some help here.
Oh yeah, I think I screwed up that beginning a little too hard.
Hanging. Go on. Don't leave me hanging.
Our
Yeah.
SCVs are under
It comes off the
attack.
back of actually bad mechanical habits as well, I would say. So
Yeah.
the big one there is you never control group either of your SCVs, either your builder at home or your builder at your proxy. So how are you jumping to your proxy? I think you were just clicking on your mini map. I'm not sure. Maybe
I actually control group the proxy, but right before I move out, I
was it
control
separate
group.
to your main barracks though, or was it on its own?
Oh, I don't. Sorry, I don't control group the proxy barracks. I control group the SEV that's out there, so I can jump to it.
Can you go back to the start of the replay? I'm not sure if it was
Yeah.
control grouped. Make sure you go to your view because it'll show your thingos. Okay, it does have one here. I
Yeah.
think. Does that get overwritten?
Yeah. So usually, what I do is right before I move out, I add 2 more SCVs to the control group and bring it across the map. But since the 2 SCVs
SCVs.
oh wait, I'll pause right when I do it. Now, since the 2 SCVs are at home,
Upgrade is
if I double tap 3, it takes me back to my base instead of to my proxy. They're right there.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
That's good enough. That's fine. But you didn't control group your Marines either. So you multiple times were like scrolling over and or camera jumping and box selecting your Marines like 3 or 4 times, and you were doing the same thing with your main base barracks, which I think you're kind of doing because obviously this is a proxy build. So if you don't do that normally, that's fine.
No.
You're trying to set it separately because I was like, wait, these are 2 things which are kind of unnecessary, but definitely we want those Marines already on their own control group. And I would also have my fighting SCV, the one that's fighting off that probe, on like control group 2 or something like that, right? Early, just so you can easily micro it. There's just like little habits with those early things that would have made the early game just a little bit easier. And I think that may have made you a bit quicker to just go, oh, what the fuck's happening here? Click Marines back to high ground, wall off the base a
Yep.
little bit quicker. Even if he gets up your ramp, if you have 2 Marines alive, and that's all you need to do is click them back. The first Marine can take 2 hits, and then you click it back. Same movement speed as a Zealot, right? As long as
Yeah.
you get behind your SCVs, that's not good, but you're going to actually be able to defend. get a bunker up and not die, while then suddenly your Marauder counterattack is pretty brutal as well, right? So, yeah. So if we go, you want to really slow it down, go to your camera and watch the few seconds before this. So yeah, click the camera, go back a few seconds.
Yeah, I noticed I miscontrolled this really hard because you're right. I didn't have my Marines hotkeyed, and I normally do. So
It's easy to get disorganized with a proxy build because you know you're going to be managing units in 2 different locations. But I would always be like, well, these are the guys that I'm dealing with a probe to shut down enemy scouting. Blah, blah. I thought this was a 300 IQ move, the barracks float. That was really cool. It also, of course, ended up being really bad because then we weren't even building Marines. But if you got it, that would have been sick. So like, I don't think there's any like, oh, you fucking got me for that. There's none of that. I mean, that was pretty right. Now, obviously, you're doing a proxy. Your opponent's also doing a proxy. His one hits first. This is generally a very stressful situation for the defender to deal with, right? It's like, hey, he cheesed you before your cheese hit him, and that's generally just a bit of a fast situation. I don't think there's anything too huge here, other than obviously this is why if you happen to SCV scout, or probe scout, it can give you a big advantage because you have a bit more momentum. Funny thing in this game, I don't think he knew what you were doing because he was like pylon blocking your expansion and stuff. He was trying to like just fuck with your opening to set up for his next wave. But yeah, no, good like Marauder micro there. You did some nice mineral walking with your SCVs. If you can go back to when you first pulled your SCVs though, I don't think you control group those either. Just like 30 seconds back.
They're under attack.
That's a bit earlier. It's when you pulled your SCVs. Remember you mineral walked them? No, before that. Earlier. Yeah. You don't need to watch from your camera view. Yeah, they didn't get control grouped at all. So you should always be control grouping your SCVs every time you pull them into a fight as well. That's just like, you know how I said, hey, one of your SCVs that was fighting the probe kind of goes in your secondary army group. That's usually where I'm going to throw my SCVs as well. If I'm pulling them either for a boy pool into, do an all-in or defensively, just so you can easily disengage them. Because most of the time you're pulling SCVs, you've only got one army group anyway.
yeah.
And I will put them on like army group 3 if I'm using 1 and 2. It's just like number 3, just so I can pull them in and then, put them back to mining. In this case, it wouldn't have actually been that useful in the follow-up, but it just kind of says, hey, that habit isn't ingrained deeply.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. Like, I think Zerg players are usually the best at that just because they're the race that is naturally caught being a greedy fucker very often. But I think it's very important for Terran as well. Protoss is the only race where it's not particularly important. But even then, if they're fighting versus 12 pool, gets messy, or in PvP, when there's like Stalkers kind of half overwhelming their natural, pulling probes just right is often a game winner. So even those races where it's not as important, it's pretty big. So yeah, let's cue some more. Yeah, you did a nice aggressive mix up there. Didn't work out. Yeah, shrug it off.
Yeah.
I don't think we got to see any crazy habits or anything. It was like, yep, okay. Hard situation, needed to react very quickly. Let's just make sure you control group your early units. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I need to find a better solution because this happens. I do that proxy a fair amount, and I constantly run into the problem where right when I go to attack, since I control group all that stuff, oh my gosh, it's putting them up against really high-ranked people. But once I move to attack, I generally have a camera issue because of how things are bound, and maybe I should wait until stuff gets across the map to do the binding.
Yeah, definitely just find where it fits in naturally. Which if you don't have the habit, it's always disruptive at first. But once you build the habit, it should be good.
Not enough minerals. More shoebox depot thingies needed. Minerals now. Get them.
What's going on? SCV ready. Ben? Huh? Big
Insufficient.
SCV ready. Move it.
Well, that looks like proxy reapers.
What's going on? Huh?
Not enough minerals. Minerals now. Get them.
In the rear with the gear.
Command center got better.
Big job, huh? The Grim Reaper has arrived. Gas from above. SCV ready. Certainly. That's all.
Additional supply depot.
SCV ready. By the SCV ready. Gangway coming. SCV ready. We hear you.
Not enough minerals.
Who wants some? Go, go, go! Fair enough. What? You want something? Oh yeah, baby. Been waiting. Big job, huh?
Minerals.
Pull more SCVs, put them on auto repair.
Go ahead, man. Bad news?
It's probably a few more SCVs than you need. Good micro there with the Marines. Make sure you keep building the command center.
Hey, they're attacking our base.
It's alright, just rebuild the depot. He's going to be looking for mistakes more than anything out of you. Could be tanks behind this, we don't really know. Just, yeah, keep rebuilding your SCVs and trying to build up your unit count.
Base is under attack.
Go, go, go! Bad news? Ben? Orders SCV ready.
I lose my low ground here, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, SCVs needed to stay there. That can't pull away from the repair.
Big job. This better be
You're going to have to cancel it.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, I got the cancel.
What's going on? SCV ready.
We finished that add-on. Nice.
I can't really say anything here because I have no idea what you would do from here. It's up to you to formulate a plan and try to find a way out of this, but I have no idea.
It's the first time I've ever faced this, so you and me both, man.
Yeah. Well, you really need to go the early factory. The second barracks and the Marines, it paints you in a corner no matter what their follow-up is, because we just don't have the flexibility needed with just unupgraded Marines.
SCV ready.
Of course, if your opponent's still on one base, there's still many ways you can get back in this game. So if you could just, you know, rebuild your command center, keep playing, keep building units, trying to hang on, microing and all that, using that high ground, there's always a chance. Scanning the natural is probably a good idea just to see where you're at. Yeah, lots of gas. So this player is just going to be going kind of mass cycling mech. So you can you know, hang in there and try to drag it out if you want. I would probably be trying to get out like a Liberator or a Medevac to try and fuck up his main base along the edge of the map, knowing that we're in such a big issue. And you got to be way more conservative with tank positioning. Yeah.
Gas, buddy. Come on. You need gas.
Yeah, I think I'll probably just dip out of this so we can get
Yes, please.
some more games. Yeah.
Yeah. Your response, you tried to defend your natural from a proxy reaper. That's kind of crazy. Because you went barracks gas, right?
Yeah. I've had reasonable success doing that. at least on this map where there's 2 entrances, but not great success. I honestly don't know a good response to Proxy Reaper.
Just check his opening. I'm pretty sure because it was only single barracks. Number one, you got away with it because I also don't even think it was like a 15 racks. I think it was like a normal 16 barracks timing because that Reaper was not that fast. So 2 things. Bunker on the natural, bunker on the main. Okay, if you survive and they don't like just dive past and they don't get their Reapers out early enough, it can work out. The problem is you just don't have enough units for those bunkers to really be that frightening. They're important, but yeah, that's not a particularly fast barracks, even though it's close to your base. So the thing is, if it was 2 barracks on like 14 or 15 supply, you would 100% die here. So in terms of what should your response be versus Proxy Reaper, bunkers on high ground. So obviously bunkers before command center, which I think you did here, right? So if we look at your response, it was bunker, CC. I think the bunkers were still a little slow though. Like if you look at this, you took a while to actually start the bunkers. I could tell there was nothing drilled in because you went, oh yeah, Proxy Reaper. 15 seconds later, you were like on the verge of putting a command center down, and then you went, wait, that's not right. And then you started putting the bunkers down gradually. But it was not very fast at all. So I could tell it wasn't drilled in. So bunkers on high ground, so usually you need 1 on each side, right, on both maps. I like little things like your little wall-offs, like building depots and things to wall off the edge of jump paths. That's awesome, right? There's some cool details. So bunkers on high ground, you know, depots. So basically 2 times bunkers on high ground. Factory, so, and also second gas and factory ASAP, I would say as well, getting your tech out. And if that means that your thing is delayed, your command center, that's fine. So if you think about this though, if you really wanted, option, go Marine instead of Reaper is really, like, that could be super helpful because then you get the factory faster. As long as you're okay with doing that.
Is it worth canceling the Reaper for the Marine? Because I think by the time my worker gets to the other side, I'm already like a third or a quarter of the way done with it.
I would never cancel a unit. It's only if you scout super early, which I assume you're not. Okay, so if you're not scouting fast enough for that, then don't worry about it. When do you scout in TVT?
I scout on I don't know. I guess it'd be what, 16? Whatever the first SCV that comes out after you put down the barracks.
Okay, that's a pretty early scout. Yeah, you on a small map you'll see them early enough, but other ones maybe not. Okay. What matchup we got?
TvZ.
Okay. Reaper, 2 bunkers on high, second gas factory ASAP.
Yeah, so do you just then throw down a barracks, bunker the high ground, and
no second barracks.
Not second barracks,
yeah,
factory.
Factory, yeah. The second barracks doesn't do anything. Paints you in a corner. Because by the time it gets units out, like you could have built a factory and a factory unit. Like a Marine popping out of there is so late that the early wave is over. Basically, the actual scariest point is past by the time that finishes.
That makes sense. Do you run the same risk with a factory where you don't get the Hellion until after you probably need it? Because they'll have 2 or 3 Reapers while you have 1, right?
They will have 2 versus 1, and then it'll be 2 versus 3, etc. And then by the time they have 5, you'll have out a Hellion as well. So it's always about using the bunkers to do damage if they run past, but then they're fighting SCVs as well, right? So it's always about using your bunkers plus your SCVs to make up for that deficit. The Hellion or the Marine, yeah, neither of them is actually there in time off your build order, which is why it's very important for you to stay on the high ground. But for now, we really need to stop thinking about that. Clear your mind, focus on your game, TvZ. It's really important. Like, this is actually a criminal sin, what we just did. To be thinking about a different game 2 minutes in, terrible. Clear your mind. Luckily, no cheese coming our way. We're feeling good. Build order's good. Let's kick some ass.
No. Add-on complete. Landing sequence interrupted.
I'm listening.
You're gonna need command center got better. Not enough energy.
Death from above. SCV ready. Fear the Reaper Man.
You're gonna need a tad bit more energy.
Done. Yes, indeed. SCV ready.
We finished that add-on. Nice.
Ready to race.
Not enough minerals.
SCV ready.
Minerals now. Get them. Not enough energy.
SCV ready.
My man.
SCV ready. Ready to raise some hell. SCV ready.
Not enough minerals. Minerals now. Get them. You're gonna need a tad bit more energy. Not enough energy. Our SCVs are under attack.
Extra SCV on the command center. There's no need to look at our Hellions there. Best to just do a quick A move. Quick, repair the depot. You're fine.
Absolutely.
Keep macroing. This is such an easy hold.
You're gonna need a tad bit more energy. That'd be a solid no on this one, Captain.
Where's my fight or flight? Yeah, right. SCV ready. I'm waiting.
Not enough energy. More shoebox depot thingies needed. Not an additional supply depots are required.
What's going on?
Minerals now. Not. You're gonna need a tad bit more energy.
Go ahead. Ready to race.
Add-on complete.
SCV ready.
Minerals now. Get them.
Ready to raise some hell. SCV ready.
Not enough minerals. Not enough energy.
Henry, big job. Ready to raise some hell. SCV ready. I'm in a heap of trouble.
Your minerals now. Get them.
SCV ready. Bad news. Ready to raise some hell. What is it? SCV ready. Ready to raise some hell.
Commander, the LZ is gonna be a no-go on this one.
Go ahead. Big job, huh? I'm waiting on you. Ready to raise some hell.
You're gonna need a tad bit more energy.
SCV ready.
Mineral field depleted.
SCV ready. Ready to raise some hell. SCV ready. Huh? SCV ready.
We finished that add-on. Nice.
Sure thing. SCV ready. SCV ready. Who called in the fleet?
Not enough minerals.
Can't hold them alone. Ready to raise some hell. SCV ready. Absolutely. I'm in a heap of trouble. SCV ready. What's going on? I'm in a heap of trouble.
More shoebox depot thingies.
SCV ready. Let's do this.
Additional supply depots are required.
Are you ready for this? Burn
Research complete. More shoebox depot thingies needed.
So you've seen no roaches. You should just be building Thors and mines. Getting more command centers, upgrades, depots. You've been supply blocked for a little while, so just drop a few drops. Usually drop supply drops on your inside your main base and behind your natural because they're less exposed.
Not enough energy. Additional supply depots are required.
Just keep that macro going.
The mineral
Depots. You saw some roaches, so you want to be building a mix of tanks and things as well now.
not enough minerals. Queued up, ready to go. SCV ready. Mineral field depleted. Add-on complete.
Repair the command center.
Hey, they're attacking our base. The minerals have up and gone. Mineral field. SCV ready. SCVs, they're under attack. I'm in a heap of trouble.
Just keep building SCVs, keep macroing.
Ready to raise some. Our SCVs are under attack.
Keep queuing up units. So you want to go through, fix up your saturation, your macro, etc. Get your battle cruisers over the turrets to make sure they don't die.
Upgrade complete.
You're doing good.
You can't build on it.
This guy's got a boner. So actually not enough corruptors to fight your BCs. That's always good. Just keep fixing up your saturation. Teleport to safety. Just get them all out of there. It's too many corruptors to be worth fighting.
I'm in a heap of trouble.
Alright. Because he's on Roachling Corruptor, we're not worried about meters. Just pure tanks and Hellions from here. If you can keep your BCs alive, that's awesome. If not, doesn't matter. Just keep building SCVs throughout all of this. You've got 4 bases up. Keep dropping mules. Transfer workers from your natural. And just keep... All you're doing here is trying to weather the storm. Yeah. So transfer these workers. Keep them all building. Bam, bam, bam. Keep building SCVs. Keep dropping mules. And keep just trying to work those tanks forward from like the ledges so that you can cover this area kind of on the ledge above your third base. So don't be putting them too far out in the opening. We're just going to have that leapfrog of tanks. And make sure we have the other depot down in our wall. And just keep building tanks here to survive. You got to try and drop a scan when you get a chance on your opponent's production, to, like in between their rallies. Because all you want to find out when you're playing Mech versus Zerg is you just want to go, what's next? 50 mutas? Is it 50 mutas? What's happening? You know, you want to kind of find that out. So, yeah, when you can drop a scan, you can do it. In the meantime, just keep building SCVs and fixing up this saturation. You can rally to your 4th base now. Cool, looks like a lot of roaches. So yeah, just keep building tanks. And if you can get a tank or 2 behind your planetary, that'll be great.
I'm in a heap of trouble. What's going on? Gas, buddy.
Got to get a tank or 2 behind your planetary. Because you saw he was working his way down the bottom of the map. If you can just get a turret or 2 up on that base and 2 tanks behind, then it can keep it safe.
I think that's it for that base.
It's alright, we can immediately start rebuilding it. Keep building tanks. He's coming in on your other expansion with a big roach attack. Let's move. Get ready to lift that command center. Just try to bring everything you can over here. Well done. Yeah, just get the SCVs back and keep these tanks sieging. So you want to use Hellbats when it's mostly roaches, just because they tank better. Just try to get in the habit of that from now on. And yeah, as long as you got some tanks on the high ground, your BCs should be able to clear this up. All right, keep going. pull back your BCs so that they don't get exposed. Try to keep rebuilding your turrets. And just keep putting your workers back and rebuild your workers. This sort of game, the way you will lose is if you let him keep killing too many workers. So you need to constantly be building SCVs. And dropping mules as well. So you keep putting them on a base that's not finished. This base needs resaturating first and foremost. You could probably transfer workers out of your main as well. Oh, natural. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Yeah, just basically keep your tanks sieged and keep them spread. So the big habit Terrans fall into here, because they're just on the back foot, is just not having their tanks sieged and spread out and covering their bases. So your BCs are your mobile defense squad, as well as whatever Hellbats and Thors you can have on an army. So a lot of these tanks you don't even want on a control group. Once you've got tanks kind of spread across all your bases, then you can make any new tanks, Thors, Hellbats onto your main army group. But you're in pure defense mode right now, essentially. Get a 5th command center going, a planetary, and just keep building those SCVs. Well, somewhere out there in history, a bunch of World War I veterans who feel for those roaches.
Yeah, just got triggered.
Yeah. All right, teleport home.
Should I wait? Yeah.
You're cool. If you wanted to get the Yamato off, you could, but that was a fuck ton of corruptors. Like, the main thing is just keep your BCs alive until he hopefully gets distracted and throws them away. That was a shit ton of corruptors. So that's a lot of dead supply, which is awesome. Just, you know, you've got 3-3 on the way. If you can max out on Thor, Tank, Hellbat, what's the chances this guy can push? So far, he's shown he knows how to build roaches and attack move them in a blob. So, you know, you could definitely scan his hive, see if there's a great Aspire, that sort of stuff. There is a second Spire, so he's going to go Broodlord Infestor. So you need to go to pure Thor production. And what's your main? Lift the command center. The habit, whenever you get pissed on, you lift it, you run it away, and then you queue it back to land while mass repairing it. Obviously, in this case, we're a little slow. There's also a fuck ton too many corruptors. And yeah, try to not get baited with your battle cruisers. So get your Thor up there if we've got one. Make sure your Thors are in high impact payload. Your goal here is to just get enough Thors to beat the Broodlords when the fight happens, and you need tanks sieged behind them and scans to stop infestors from killing the Thors and stealing them and that sort of stuff.
Should I be attacking right now? I feel like I should be pushing. I mean, clearly he doesn't have Broodlords right now.
Yeah, you could go for it. I mean, it's unlikely you'll be able to kill him, but you never know. This is, if you do this, it's an all-in, and that's fine. That's totally fine. You've been on the back foot all game. You need to grab everything and go right now. You might be able to find the timing. My game sense says it's a little too late, but if you're going to go, you got to go right fucking now. Unsiege everything. Okay. Yeah.
I think
more depots? Yeah, maybe. You never know. People take a long time to make Broodlords sometimes. Sometimes they don't have the money, the supply, or whatever. Just more Thors. Make sure they're all in high impact payload. And that's going to be the biggest thing here. Enemy incoming. Kill the
really
turret.
got him in a
Kill the turret.
pickle right there, didn't I?
Yep. Yeah. Now, the modern way of playing Zerg versus Mech is to always have 1,000 Zerglings. Technically, having a sprinkle of Zerglings, all your units are trapped behind the third. You gotta unsiege a tank. Your third base, yep. No, there's another one at the top. Yep. Yeah. Scan that army. Alright. You want to try and get an... Oh, that's a shit army. Yeah, you can just A-move this, probably. Normally, I'd say try to find an arc. Oh, they're not all in high-impact payload. That's a problem. Yeah, normally I don't even focus fire Thors versus Broodlords. They do a very good job of doing it on their own. Because we don't have any Hellbats or Hellions, that's a problem. You always want to have Hellions because they clear the Broodlings and the Zerglings like so quickly. See Infestors, watch out, pull back. You always got to have siege tanks in range. So try to take a new expansion, more Thors, more Hellbats. Your opponent built the Infestors, but then used most of the army without them and had mostly Zergling support. So a big screw up there. If they had just a bunch of Roaches, the Infestors were with it. I don't think we could have taken that army out, but fortunately our opponent kind of did a disjointed attack. A lot of Zergs, ideally we kill the ground army, then we kill the Broodlords, then we kill the Infestors. You know, we kind of get them to disjoint, and a lot of Zergs offer us that opportunity, which is really nice. So if you can spread out a bit with your Thors, but also have your tank sieged, here we go. Fight's gonna happen. So you got to be careful with the terrain. Try and get those Thors in a big line. All right.
That seemed like that was very fortuitous for me.
Move your Thors forward. You got to start to step into the Broodlords because they're all stuck behind each other. So remember, you always want those in a big line. Yeah. All right. So you can probably unsiege and counterattack and just go, go, go. But you got to keep your army backing each other up. Oh, your Thors. You're move commanding without scan there. All right, you got this. Yeah. Now, in these scenarios, rally pure Hellion is the way to do it. So if you swap to pure Hellion production off your bases, they rally faster. Make sure they're rallied like onto your army. And that way you could just suddenly be building, you know, basically about 30 Hellions a minute, which turn into Hellbats. And that's the most important thing, because if you ever get caught with no Hellbats, Zerglings, Hydra, Remax, these fast remaxing units are going to be a problem. And yeah, if it's Remax or Roaches, tanks are the most important, but you've got tanks on the front. That's the way it works. And you can bring the rest. You've got so many tanks still spread across your bases. So this is definitely one of those situations where you can kind of just bring all the defensive tanks and yeah, just make sure you're always dropping a scan every now and then in case more Infestors come out. And generally, you're doing really good.
And they're out of here.
Oh, poor arm leg.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
So yeah, you just weathered the storm. I think they were Simulant Zerg. We got all the storm of steel. Since we are sticking with World War I metaphors for that game, you played from the German side, man. Ernst Younger would be proud. That was crazy. Well done. Well done. Early game, you got massively fucked up because we were talking about the previous game. Your opening was okay to 2 minutes. It was horrendous for the next 3 minutes. And then he did a lot of Ling run bys as well. And that just went... Rah! So you started building depots at like 25 supply. Didn't start your first 2 Hellions for like a minute. And you were at like 34 out of 65 supply or something like that. Something obscene. So the build order just got thrown off. That just reminds us that important habit. If we're going to talk about the previous game, let's like clear that slate before we go into the next one kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we talked a bit about some of the different things that happen there. There was a few times, like whenever things get a bit hectic, you do have an issue with not queuing workers back to mining. A lot of Terrans do that, myself included. Bit of a bad habit. Always pull extra SCVs as soon as Lings attack the wall. But what is the exact order of operations? I feel that needs to be drilled in a little bit, right? So
Yeah.
I think because oftentimes, like for me, it's like, first thing I do is move Hellions home. This is assuming the wall's already, obviously it's raised depot if that's not already there, but move Hellions home, then it's pull an extra SCV to repair / get on the command center or the depot that's building. Because I thought that SCV was going to die. And I think the moment you saw those Lings coming, we should have already been grabbing another SCV. Because we'd been like, wow, shit, command center just started. You always assume that SCV is going to die because it doesn't have a lot of hit points. That's a big problem, right? We don't want to have to cancel the command center. It lets them in, but it also loses us a bunch of minerals and time. And if you did that, and then you're like, oh, that's cool, he's attacking the other structure. If we got an SCV or 2 down, that would have been great. Unfortunately, that depot positioning is horrendous. That bottom right one, right? Look at how much surface area. That's why that kept causing us problems. I was like, man, how is this depot going down so quickly? And then I realized it was sticking out like a sore thumb, and I was like, oh, okay, I see. And that was unfortunate. So I think you just need to make sure that's a little bit more programmed, because this needs to be instinctual, is pull Hellions home, pull SCV. But this would not have been as big a problem if our wall was a little better from the start. So you can just make a little note to yourself to build these depots on the inside of the wall. Notice how you've built both sides of the wall, kind of on the outside of the choke point. Whereas you can see if that bottom left depot was like 1 or 2 squares to the left, that would be fine. And the top right depot could be up and to the left 1 or 2 squares, right? If it was just
Yeah.
up and to the left, yeah.
I've kind of gotten in the habit of putting the depots out front because they're the thing I can repair while the building command center I can't. So I try to minimize surface area there. I mean, obviously this hurt me on this map. I might have to figure out some walling methods to kind of not
Well, the
have
thing,
such-
yeah, I understand that thing is you don't want it to be sticking out like 80% of the command centers exposed, like, but half of it is actually okay. If it's like almost half the command center is exposed, because it has so many hit points, it can just tank like crazy. So I get it, we don't want to lose it and stuff, but how often are they going to come in right at the exact moment, especially for you? You're opening Viking first. They shouldn't have the information to do that. If you're just more consistent with your Hellion production and quicker at pulling your Hellions home, notice at this point, you're doing all this fancy micro, your Hellions are just chilling. So there's got to be that instinct. Hellions need to either be clicked into a mineral line or clicked straight home. Straight home should probably be the instinct, whereas into the enemy mineral line to punish them for being aggressive is a bit more situational based on your game sense, right? But I think if you've just got more consistent Hellion production, that's going to be good. The command center being exposed gets you punished most of all when you've got a gap in your production. You move out with all your Hellions. As you get to the other side, 20 Lings come in, and you've got 1 Marine shooting them or something. That's where it gets into big trouble. So I think because we saw here with that depot, there was actually like, you couldn't even repair it. Like you would actually have to micro to get 2 SCVs. I didn't even know if you could get 2 SCVs repairing that. So just put them a little bit more indented. And if the command center is a little more exposed as a result, that's totally fine. I think that's actually a better trade-off most of the time.
Okay, yeah, that's all really good. I definitely wouldn't mind. I'll probably do it later, but going back through and seeing how much dead time I have on my command centers, because to your point of weathering the storm, like I'm missing a lot of beats here and there. I know I'm missing those, so another thing to think about.
So I think otherwise, it felt like because he was being aggressive, your opening was a little thrown off. It felt like you just lost your way, right? So I was like, this is still totally fine after you defended those Lings. But then what happened was what usually happens when Protoss and Zerg are aggressive to a Terran player. It felt like you lost your track of where you were in the game. Your battlecruiser teleported in and just sat on a spore crawler. Your Hellions just sat out front at the same time. You didn't really find any. You went quick blue flame, but didn't use it. Because you were just clearing creep, but you didn't even know if he's going roaches or not. He had 13 roaches this whole time, your opponent did. And he had terrible movement with them, where we actually could have run in and killed a lot of drones. But even if we didn't, if we were just more aggressive, we would have at least seen, oh, this guy's on heavy roaches. We didn't see it. Remember, I was telling you to go Thors and mines. That was totally the wrong call. That's on me. But it's because your harassment wasn't doing anything, right? You threw the battlecruiser away for free. Second BC kind of just chilled. Hellions could be running in and killing drones in a lot of these scenarios. Now, obviously, killing creep's a little safer, but because we weren't forcefully getting any information about what our opponent was doing, and look at this, it's a 50 drone roach max. What the hell? Like, this is actually insane. We look at it in the replay, we're like, oh, this guy went crazy low economy mass roach. So it's this thing where when we take damage and get thrown off our build order a little bit, or they mess with us with those linger on buys, it's really easy to just lose track of where we are in the game. It's very important to go, okay, cool, am I still committing to Hellion BC? It looks like you are, but you didn't commit to it in terms of your focus and how you controlled those units. If I saw that BC teleport in, kill a drone or two on the third, all the queens come down, you click it into the main, and at the same time the Hellions run into the natural, I go, oh, that's a set piece attack. I can see you're focusing on that the way you would if it was a normal cleaner opening. But in this game, it became a little bit more unconfident, I guess is the word, where it didn't feel like you were sure what you were doing. You were kind of like, oh, pick off 2 tumors and pull back. So you kind of let yourself get, I think, forced into a more defensive mindset by the Zerg. And the thing is, it's like, well, if we were choosing that as an option, saying, this guy's a cheeser, let's play more defensive, and you were building just like tanks and walling off and stuff, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's like a strategic choice we've made. But you weren't. You're going battle cruisers and blue flame Hellions, which are very harassment kind of, we've got to get over there and see what they're doing and hopefully kill some drones. So it's like just this thing where we've got to make sure we still know what the next fight is that we're taking to our opponent. And that's especially important if they've been in our face like this player was all early game.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, to the point of, making sure the Hellions are getting in there, I feel like sometimes I lose games because I lose too many Hellions early, and I don't have the meat to defend the tanks later on. How do you assess risk? You know, like, oh, let me bump it back here to where, you know, I've got like a group of 13 Hellions clearing creep. Actually, that's probably too far back. I was worried that if I dove in for workers and, you know, I get, let's say, 6 to 10, but I lose all my Hellions, I just immediately die to a counterattack. Is it like, how do you balance the risk to death via counterattack, you know, getting surrounded on creep with your Hellions?
Well, you need to know what your opponent's doing, right? So that's the problem here is we can't look at that in isolation. So we've got to think of it in terms of, it's a great question because it leads us to that more important question of, well, what situation are we in and do we understand? And we didn't know that. So that's the thing where if we were to dive in, we might be doing that with the intention in this sort of game where we don't know what's happening of going, well, we got to at least figure out what's happening. Or maybe we are just blindly committing and we'll figure out what's happening as a byproduct of that. In which case, it's a set piece. It's a timing we know is naturally strong. Oh, battlecruiser teleports one base, Hellions hit elsewhere, right? So yeah. It's based off two things there. It's what lines up for our build, number one, and is this good against what our opponent does? Which is, do we, you know, which is sometimes we don't know, sometimes we can know. So sometimes you might dive in and scan a bit further ahead and go, well, if there's no units coming, go straight for the mineral line. If there are, just back off, right? And it might just be we always poke at a certain time or we always attack at a certain time. If we know he's massing roaches, maybe we don't. Maybe we just go defensive and morph Hellbats and use them to buffer for our tanks, right? Maybe if our opponent's rushing mutas, we know there's a very strong point before those mutas are out where the Hellions can go in, or when the mutas are on our side of the map, because normally they're trying to get there off just Queen Ling, right? So yeah. I often beat Zerg muta players who play 3-base muta when I'm playing mech, because I will just be like, okay, like let's actually, like the counter to mutas, I realized was for me usually to just commit more with my Hellions, because I was just letting players defend with like 20 Lings and 8 Queens. And they're like, well, I got 85 drones and now I'm going to build 20 mutas at once. And I was like, oh, like you haven't even made a Baneling Nest or a Roach Warren. You're actually a fuck nugget. Like you can't go 85 drones before building fighting units. But I was letting Zergs do it because I was treating those players the same as I was a guy who masses roaches or 50 drones, right? It's a completely different scenario. So decisively committing to preset timings is always really good, right? And even, like I said, choosing, BC plus Hellion, you're like, I'm going to commit to that no matter what. And then you've got that confidence, but the extra skill layer is knowing, you actually see a ton of roaches and you just run away with the Hellions and only commit with the BC or something like that. Like you kind of want to build that as a second layer of knowing when to pull out.
Yeah, I think you were spot on in saying that. Like I do generally have set pieces that got horribly thrown off the rails, and maybe I'll go back through my builds and write down the times on these. That way I can assess whether or not it's right to commit based on how the early game goes. Because,
I think it was
I did it disjointedly.
The BC was like 8 minutes or something that game, and that sounds terrible. But he sacrificed like 35 Lings that early game. He's lost them all. Like you're both fucked up. Sometimes it's okay to just commit to it anyway, based off I'm a bit fucked up. His opening's a bit fucked up. Like you shouldn't really have felt massively behind. Your command center didn't get cancelled. You killed a lot of Lings. Yeah, you lost a couple SCVs, a depot or two, threw things off. But I think you were kind of okay, So it's this funny thing where, I think just kind of committing is a good way to do it. So I mean, let's do one extra bonus one, since I was a little slow to actually start with the coaching today. Obviously, the call was going for a few minutes before that with you just playing. So it's very important to, number one, punish someone who's been aggressive to you, because often they're greedy behind it, and number two, scout what they're doing. And often we can do both with the same thing. Committing with the pressure. If we spot too much defense, get the fuck out of there. But make sure we stick to those areas we're comfortable with that give us structure and control and information. So when in doubt, try to go back to your normal game plan if you can. After the early pressure and things stabilize, do some sort of set piece pressure. If you're not going to do that, well, skip on things like Blue Flame, because you're going straight to tanks and doors and whatever, or something like that, right? It's line up with the new direction, go straight to the next stage of the game. For now, though, another Terran vs. Zerg. let's kick ass. Let's do a build. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break, so I'll be gone for 1 minute. Hopefully I won't miss any giant errors with you putting your barracks down wrong. Good luck, mate.
Thanks.
Not enough minerals. Go ahead. CV ready. Minerals now. Get them. Big job. SCV ready. Ah! You scared me. SCV ready. What's going? Big. SCV ready. Bad news. Go ahead. Not enough minerals. In the rear with the gear. Huh? What's going on? Your command center upgrade is complete. Minerals now. Get them. The Grim Reaper has arrived. Yes, sir. SCV ready. SCVs. They're under attack. Huh? Yeah. You want a piece of me, boy? Gas, buddy. Come on. You need gas. Big job, huh? Got something from me. I'm listening. What's it worth? Let's do this. SCV ready. Yes, indeed. Done. All right. What? You want something? Here comes the pain on the way. SCV ready. What's going on? SCV ready. Where's the crew? Fear the Reaper, man. Where's the crew? Go ahead. Death from above.
Well, that Reaper deserves a trip home to see his wife and kids.
Commander.
He has seen some shit. There's always a good addition to our Hellions as well.
Command center
Always
got
feels
set.
good. Keep that up. Depot started too early again. Try to break that habit. It's always got to be Hellions first.
Energy. This better be SCV
All
ready.
right.
That's all. Yeah.
And I got a good feeling about this Reaper going into the future. He's going to win the game for me.
SCV ready.
Fuck yes. Alright, queue up a few extra SCVs. You got plenty of minerals here. You're doing great. Yeah.
That add-on. Nice. SCV ready. SCV ready. Yeah. In the rear with what you want. SCV ready. I'm in a raise some hell. Are you ready for this? SCV ready. SCV ready. Ready to bugger. Transformation systems prime. SCV ready. SCV ready. Ready to raise some hell. I'm listening. SCV ready. SCV ready. Insufficient Vespine gas needed. Additional not enough minerals. This better be good. Bad news. Got something for me to kill. More shoebox depot thingies needed. Gonna have me some fun. Ready to raid.
It's a lot of Zerglings, so we know we're just going to be kind of conservative with our Hellions until the battle cruisers here. And even then, we'll only dive like super deep if we think we can get ourselves in a choke point and, you know, really do well with it. But With that many Zerglings, it's totally fine to actually say, you know what, he's built enough defense. If you want to, you can make a decision to actually not even dive with the Hellions with the battlecruiser and play it very conservative. So it's completely up to you, but you've got some info, gives you a good head start, and let's just focus hard on that macro. Not sure if we have the third factory up yet, but definitely need to get a move on with that.
Can't hold them alone. SCV ready. SCV ready.
Add-on complete. Your command center upgrade is complete.
Bandit, ready to raise some hell. What you want?
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Hey, they're attacking our base. We finished that add-on.
Ready to raise some hell.
So your BC has chances to just shift click around, pick off overlords and stuff. Remember, there's still a lot of Zerglings, so we don't need to force the issue with our Hellions. It's more important to macro up. And we have 2 reactors, which is an interesting setup on our factories. We need to get the extra factories, the double armories, the depots, as well as, of course, we should already be rallied on that third, transferring and building gases all in one go. So that's something, yeah, whenever your third's floating over or landing, try to build that habit of doing all of that at once if you can, just to be a bit more APM efficient. Cue your battlecruiser to go back next to the extractors and then back out again. That's basically free damage every time. It'll automatically, you just tell it to kind of move in and out a bit, and it'll kill a few drones on its own. So you really need to get up a few tech labs with factories desperately. We've been building every factory separately this game. It's a big APM sink and a little bit inefficient. If there's no roaches, we could dive with these Hellions. So at the moment we're doing that pedantic creep clearing again. Okay, it's Hydras. All right. Get out of there. So we want lots of tanks and Hellions to defend the Hydra Bane. Keep building SCVs, keep macroing up. We still haven't built any depots. So we keep looking at pressure when we know our opponent's been pretty safe this game. And this is something where we needed to shift gears and focus on our macro a little bit harder. We failed to do that, right? Because we're not really doing anything with our harassment, but we're also not macroing that well. So we really need to make sure like all our factories are hotkeyed, all that sort of stuff. Clearing the creep seems like it's effective, but it's really not actually damaging our opponent's economy. Right now, we need to just focus on getting our macro up, and that means pulling your Hellions out of danger. So we have a habit of, if our Hellions aren't on creep, it feels like you feel like you're not being active. I would be happy for you to literally be sitting at home with every unit except the battlecruisers right now, and just focusing a lot more on that. Keep building those SCVs, and just minimal bits of micro here and there. So let's focus on the battlecruisers, teleport home. Get as many tanks out as we can. Keep building tanks, depots, tanks, depots, tanks, depots. And at this stage, it should be more about like, hey, if we're going to harass, send 5 or 6 Hellions around the edge of the map and then wait until he comes to your side of the map and then click them in. Battlecruisers can come home, but you got to build for the next stage of the game where we're kind of past that early stage. And Hydra Bane is most likely just going to be kind of flanking in from multiple sides and trying to overwhelm us. So if we can get wall-offs, it's great with our extra depots that are needed anyway. And just see what we can do. So those Hellions are in a very dangerous area. So they need to get the hell out of there. This is a crazy move. There is no reason. You have no idea where his army is. You know, he has a lot of Hydra Bane. That's a giant Hellion run by really late. Like, they need to get home, those Hellions.
Do you think there's value? I like to sometimes just leave him on the edge, and that way if I see his army somewhere way out of position, I can run in. But do you think it's more valuable being home?
It's okay to do that, but that is so many Hellions, and after showing them, If he was really competent, he would go clear up that side of the map. So it's a huge mistake from him, and maybe that's common. Maybe that's common. I'm not sure, but we
I
should
can tell
not
you in
be.
Diamond League, it's pretty common.
Yeah, if you didn't show them first, it would be much more of a solid move. But because you showed it, it's kind of ridiculous. So I think we're going to be facing lurkers by the looks of it. So we're just going to need extra command centers for scans. If you want, you can build orbitals instead of planetaries. Obviously, much weaker to banelings and hydras. Much stronger against lurkers because you can just lift up and run away. And if I were you, I'd be trying to scan your opponent's army and figure out what the hell is going on in this game.
And normally I would push right now.
Then go for it. If you're going to go for it, go for it. You're maxed out, you know, try to take a fifth behind it if you can, but you've got to be scanning ahead, sending Hellions ahead, whatever you can. You got to figure out what you're up against. So focus on what you're doing, which is pushing, split off Hellions, get ahead, try to see what you're up against. You need to be either scanning ahead or splitting off Hellions, one or the other. Right now, we are just blobbing up on creep. We cannot afford to do that. Scan ahead. We need to see what his army looks like. You go to scan where his army would be. Okay, he's trying to go Broodlord Infester. All right, so behind this, all we're going to do is build Thors for now. Get the siege going. He doesn't have Broodlords yet. We found a nice window. He's trying to morph him, though. So you can either disengage or split your army up. One or the other. Either way, you got to disengage.
Yeah, I need to trade some of my army regardless so I can free up supply.
Yeah, and if he tries to counter push, you want to go around. So like I said, you want to split your army, like halves to go around. You didn't, yeah, you keep clumping it up accidentally. You got to be a little bit more devious, you know? That army needs to go around the left, the other army go up and to the right and come back in. And be remaxing on Thors and Hellbats behind it and tanks and all that. Mostly Thors. Yeah, cue some attack moves here. So you keep telling them to move out of the way. Whenever you're disengaging like that with an army, you want to do a bit more of cueing them to move, that sort of stuff. Yeah, siege all those tanks. And the other army should be coming in on the right at the same time. Or just going home since you've disjointed it a little bit. We weren't quite on time. But you'll see that because the Broodlords and the Infestors aren't very mobile, they struggle to deal with this sort of thing. So if you can just make that a bit quicker, where if you boxed half the army, moved back, shift-clicked it to the side, boxed the other half, moved back, shift-clicked it to the opposite side of the map, and then queued them both to attack move in after they pulled back to the middle, went to the sides, then went down the extreme flanks. And then you just focus purely on rebuilding your army with the right comp, which is obviously a lot Thor heavier. And just keep trying to get expansions up, and it's very important to not take a fight near bad terrain. So if he was to come up down from that high ground, you could not really fight there, right? So losing a base is not nearly as bad as losing your army. So you need to be really careful with your Thors. Get them all in high impact payload and make sure he doesn't surprise you, because when you fight, Thors need to be in a big wide line. If there's a lot of Infestors, you need tanks behind them sieged up. So we can't let him fight us over terrain, over the edge of something. Because we're swapping from earlier in the game where we love terrain to he's the longer range guy now. He's the guy with the superior range. That's normally us. Because of that, we suddenly want to fight in wide open spaces. We become the Zerg in this scenario. We want to surround the Broodlords. We want to fight them in a big arc.
You scared me. Unacceptable command. We are at maximum supply.
Hellbat coming through. Are you ready for this?
The minerals have up and gone.
Just keep scanning. Keep scanning. Make sure those tanks kill the Infestors if they come forward. Alright, unsiege the tanks and get them out of there. You did pretty alright there. You killed a lot of his units. Just keep rebuilding those Thors. We were just a little light on the Thors, and they didn't have any Hellions left behind him. So this is why if you can keep your Hellions and Hellbats behind your Thors, they're going to kill all those Broodlings, and the Broodlings won't do damage. But because we didn't quite have that, and our opponent's got sick upgrades this game, so shout out to him. those broodlings actually did a lot of damage. Where normally broodlings should do jack all because they're instantly getting roasted up by hellbats. And he's got a huge broodlord count, so it's all going to be about just pulling back, even be willing to give up another base, you know, float another base to the right-hand side, and, you know, just don't fight until he comes deep enough and you've got a ton of Thors with some hellbats behind him. Yeah. So pull all the SCVs off that base ahead of time. Very nice. And just take your time with it. You've actually got a lot more time here. People usually stress out. Pull your army home. What are you doing? Don't go. No, pull back. Remember, wait. Your army is not ready. You're nowhere near maxed. This army of his cannot be replaced. You need to just pull your army way back. You're not in danger of losing anything important here. Yeah. Whenever they catch you, whether it's mass muta, mass broodlord, mass ultratech switch, it's all about just, if your composition's wrong for that moment, just pull back and chill. Yeah. And now that you're remaxing, you can get out there and start looking for a fight again. And just remember, it's all Thors and high impact payload, keeping the hellbats clumped up with the army. And right now you've only got about 4 tanks, so they are sacred because they are your anti-infestors. Your opponent hasn't used your infestors that well. It's very hard to use infestors that well, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's just important to make sure you keep an eye on that. So look for the counter push, choose your angle, break down the rocks if you need to. Oh my god, it's almost pure Broodlord. So this is all going to be about you setting up a giant arc of Thors. So get down into a wide open area and set up an arc as far back from terrain as you can. Good luck, mate. I think you might be able to take this. It's all about the angle. If you can bait him into a big arc, you've got this.
The minerals have up and gone. Mineral field depleted.
Just make sure, yeah, infestors are on the right, so just keep an eye out for them and try to set up that Thor line if you can. So you're up against the terrain. If you can pull back slightly there, it might work, but I think you're doing okay. Yes! The power of the Thors, dude. Macroing during a battle, my man. All right, remember, rally those Hellions. Pull that army home. Run it home. It doesn't have any help. It doesn't have many hellbats with it. So you want to rebuild tanks and Hellions with it, and you want to scan his production. Is it 1,000 mutas? I doubt it. It's probably 1,000 Zerglings. Yeah, and ultras.
Nailed that one.
Yeah, it's always going to be.
This game.
It's always going to be a Zergling remax. Whenever I start playing Mech again, I always I can win the game, and then I go nope. This is the Zergling remax, dude. So I mean, if you want, you can probably go fight again now. Oh, those hellbats are beast. Yeah. Yeah, you can go push whether it be the right or the left side of the map again, and I think tanks will be pretty nice as well. Thors are not bad. I think Thor Hellbat will probably do the trick.
I think I still have so many tanks queued up from that fight.
Yeah. So yeah, just keep trying to get planetaries up where you can, and more importantly, just once again, you've remaxed your armies here, and try to push and get some nice fights going. Oh. Ooh, okay, you got to be careful. Yeah, if he's going Banelings, your Hellbats need to get behind your army. Top right? Okay, that's okay. So this is, yeah. If you just build lots of Hellions and Hellbats at home, they should be fine. And just keep pushing with your main army. That's a lot of his army. So as long as your main army doesn't get completely rolled and you don't lose your production. So just keep the production alive is the important part. And I think you're fine. Yeah, you can mass repair that. You're good. All right. Hold down the SCV key, the Hellion key, and push with your main army. He's got infestors, so you saw infestors. You've just killed everything at home. Scan ahead, siege tanks. Just don't die to the infestors. That's the biggest thing here. And if you're low on scan, since you lost some orbitals just now, maybe consider that. But yeah. Yeah, just take out this base on the left. I guess that should probably win you the game. Very nice. Yeah. Our opponent just went a bit one-dimensional by trying to go mass Broodlord. You know, it was it was one-dimensional. It's something where if you do that, you do that by surprise. Like, he should have surprise morphed 20 broods halfway across the map and then hit you, right? Instead, he was like, here's 7 broodlords. Now I'm going to make another 3. Now another 7. Now another 7. And you were scanning his army the whole time. That was the big thing. We noticed as we go deeper in the game as mech, it's so important to scan their army and go, the fuck are you building right now, dude? And this is something I'm terrible at. I kind of wish I had me not having to play the game in my ear talking about it.
Yeah, it's actually really nice having the voice of reason.
So what's his army? Is it mostly Infestaling now? What was that? Was there broods?
Yeah, there's a lot of broods.
A lot of broods. Okay, yeah. So just once again, as long as we got 4 or 5 tanks, mostly Thors and Hellbats, we could still lose this game. So mostly Thors. Keep dropping mules in the top right, transferring SCVs. We may need to give up these bases on the left. Once again, it's all about your angle. Do not let yourself fight up against a ledge. Pull back from there. Give it up. Cancel both bases on the left. Give them up. Yeah. It's all about positioning. It's all about positioning.
You're gonna need a tad bit more energy.
So make sure you've got SCVs transferring from your third and stuff. You're building more SCVs, because we did lose a lot. Yep. Keep dropping mules. All right. Yeah, you're doing a good job. So this is the kind of point where if we could split a Hellion counterattack down both sides of the maps, that would be great. Just make sure you replace them straight away, because obviously if we get caught, it would be a problem. So yeah, if you can go, because he looks like he's very immobile on Broodlord Infesta, and he's also broke. So mineral line. Don't waste your time on creep. Yep.
Base is under attack.
Keep rebuilding your Hellions. He's on just Lings to support. You've already got enough Thors and tanks to deal with the Infested Broodlord. So as long as you're only building Hellions, because these ones are all probably going to die. Yeah, focus those drones down before you go. Good job. Yeah, sometimes you can even kill a bunch of Infestors, and even just wasting their energy is not bad. Alright. I don't think we've got many Hellions, because we keep like maxing out. So you might want to kill one of your own tanks or two. It's up to you. It's totally fine to do that. But I would get ready for that push, yeah. And if you want to repair your Thors first, you could even do that. But I mean, we just killed a lot of his economy. He doesn't have a lot. He's going to have 1 super max of army, but that's okay. So if you want to defend that top right base, we'll need to leave like a tank or 2 and some Hellbats. But it's up to you. Just keep building Hellions to replace, and oh, there we go. That's what we're talking about. Make sure every Thor's in high impact, and siege the tanks on the right. It's very important to get them in the mineral line. The Hellbats as well. You want them in the mineral line. Like, yeah. Usually even between the minerals. That's the way. All right, sweet. Let's go for a push. Down the right-hand side is where his most important base is. It's also a wide open area. So, or you can just defend. You're close by. So if you get over there with your army, you should be fine. Yep. Yeah, awesome. All right, go push. Push the right-hand side. And just keep scanning ahead and making sure we take the correct angle. And make sure you have some scans saved, so don't be dropping any more mules after that, okay? Scan ahead, way ahead, way ahead. We want to see where his army is. What? Yeah, he's running away. All right, push. Get in there. He knows he can't fight your army right now, so he might try to counter. If you control-click your idle worker button, that'll select all of them. And you can click those to your new base. That selected them all. Yeah, beautiful. Take the rich gas base below this. Just build it off center, that's fine. Keep scanning ahead. It's all about positioning, remember? You still got mostly Broodlord Infesta. So you got to find that.
Is it worth trying to get up that ramp?
That base is not important, but just rotate to the left of the map and just keep a big wide open arc. So if he wants to come defend his bases, he's got to fight into that big arc of Thors. You've got so many units. Ideally, when the fight starts, you're spread across like 2.5 screens, like, you know. So just keep track of where his army is and keep picking off these bases, and hopefully he'll come fight you. Yeah, he's on almost pure Broodlord, so just focus on your spready. Big link counter for him, wall off your production. And wall off the main, and build only Hellbats, and rally them to the top of your main.
We are at maximum, so hey, they're attacking our base. You're maxed,
That's
buddy.
fine.
No more stuff.
Your units are in a bad position right now. Yeah.
Base is under attack.
You go to spread them out.
Go ahead. Got no leg. What's this? Give us your best shot. Need some help.
Well, there's no more gas with this one. Unacceptable command. We are at maximum supply. Base is under attack. Additional supply depots are required.
It's all about this army now. Everything is about this army and how you use it.
Mineral field depleted.
I feel like
So he's just said, I've won. I've killed the production. I've forced him all in. And you said, it's okay. Because you're just going to, you're mining. He's not. You can just, you know, rebuild your depots. Since you've made the decision to go home,
No on this one, Captain.
that's okay. I mean, if you want, you could have tried to force the fight. It's just very hard to attack into him. So I don't mind
yeah, I
this
feel
call.
like I'm ahead right now.
Natural has Zerglings as well. Probably more than one. Want to scan that natural. Yeah.
Not enough energy.
All right. Command centers. Build more command centers. They will unsupply block you. And tons of depots.
Not enough energy.
It's going to take you forever to rebuild.
The mineral
Yeah, I think I'm just going to slowly rebuild and look for the fight.
Yeah.
can't build there. Unacceptable build location. Gotcha. SCVs. They're under attack.
So we should have known that was going to be the case. Yeah.
Heating up out here. Need some.
Hey, they're attacking our base.
I'm in a heap of trouble.
Mineral field depleted.
If we could get out a handful of Vikings, that would be a game winner as well. He's got like 3 corruptors. So if you do get a chance to rebuild depots, just rebuild like 4 starports as well or something. And
Mineral
yeah,
field depleted.
you'd be good.
It scared me.
Army's sitting on the edge of creep, clumped up in a ball.
The minerals
Bad
are
way.
up and gone.
Yep. Especially remember, he has infestors. We don't know how many, probably only a few, but if we're going to commit to a fight, we are committing to it, you know, kind of thing. Make sure that we're fully focused on taking the right fight. We're not letting this one slip away, not now. We got this. Scan. Get those tanks to kill the infestors. The tanks, not the Thors, yeah. Scan.
Not enough
It's
energy.
a very close fight. Keep it, if you can rebuild Thors, if you got tech labs and stuff, you're gonna kill almost every Broodlord. You might need some Hellions as well because you might build Zerglings. Keep dropping mules and try to get Thors, Vikings, anything you can.
Base is under attack.
He's just unburrowed a few Zerglings back in your production.
Vespene geyser exhausted. Add-on complete. Our SCV.
This is a very wily Zerg player. It's cool.
I'm in a heap of trouble.
Just keep
This is
building
a
Thors.
weird game too because I can't build Thors. I lost my armory.
Oh, okay. You got a Viking yet? Sorry, just give
I'm,
up the base.
Are you ready to raise some hell?
Ah, okay. All right, send your Hellions to go counterattack. And just keep backing off. So you want to be rallying far away. Whenever they're pushing like that, your rally should be way off to the left, because we're even willing to give up that base. If we have to. Yeah.
Minerals now. Get them.
All day.
I would check the more extreme bases like that one on the right. Yeah, that one. So his Broodlords have pulled back to defend that, in fact. But yeah, start building more Thors where you can and be efficient. Don't throw these Hellions away. They're sacred. So the Broodlords are there. Pull back. Yeah. It's all right. Does he have either of those far left bases? You haven't checked them both. So
Yeah, I
check
checked
both
that
of
one.
those. Oh, what do we get? Oh, we're trying to do some super duper over the top pro micro there. You did it well, just that is ridiculous. Trying to stop one alien to shoot. I'm like, what is this? That's crazy.
I need all the value I can get at this point.
Not enough minerals.
All right.
Landing sequence interrupted. Commander, the LZ is
Send your Viking to go kill the Broodlords if you can. I know it's kind of, you know, it just needs to go, force him to build corruptors kind of thing. And we need to make sure we've got the pieces. The problem right now is that's Thors that are exposed. So, you know, without Hellions, it's scary. He doesn't have a good economy, but we definitely need to squeeze out a tank or two, just so we've got some of that
minerals have up and gone.
anti-infester. Kill that Broodlord. That Overlord's still on the left. Okay, what do we got? Bigling run by. All right. Yeah, just split one unit off for that and go back, get defend your production. Send back most of your army to the production.
Under attack. Mineral field
It's a lot of units. You have to lift factories or they'll die.
command center got better.
Bad news? Feel the thunder. By the numbers, boys.
Hey, they're attacking our base.
Been waiting on
You want to be control clicking factories in scenarios like that? Build, build, build. Yep.
Landing sequence interrupted.
You scared me. Armed and ready. Let's set something on fire.
We finished that add-on. Nice.
Try to scan the right-hand side of the map for his army. I imagine it's on the right, guarding that base.
Finish that
Because
add-on.
it's really important to see what his army looks like. He's making more brutes. Yeah. Okay, so we just got to keep... basically, either you go for an all-in right now, or you split Hellions for run-bys down both sides of the map simultaneously, while continuing to just build your composition.
Get 'em.
Which is totally fine. Both are valid ways of doing it right now. But yeah, it's either push now with it all-in, or start harassing like mad.
Yeah, I'll try to. I still haven't seen where his army actually is.
I'm pretty sure it's top right on the rich gas base. Because you saw a Broodlord near there, but it's okay. Don't be dropping too many scans. That's a bit excessive. That's okay. Your army's sitting on the edge of creep again. Got to break that habit. It's either
She's just
going,
gonna push this
it's either
base.
going or it's running away. Yeah, it's one or the other.
SCVs.
Okay.
They're under attack.
This is where a scan to see if he's nearby is going to be like more of a thing. Yeah. Get the base, get out of there after that. Nicely done. So like I said, Hellion production if possible. I really do feel like just getting a round of actual mobile Broom Hellions to hit the left-hand side base again, which the one you just hit, and move in from there, and then one to sneak around the right to the rich gas base at the same time. If you can get like 8 Hellions out, 2 squads of 4, something like that, that's going to be a killer maneuver.
I'm working on it. If you need to take off, I totally understand. I think we're way over time, but
That's all right. You had a bunch of hours left, so we'll just tap into the other ones. Let's just lift that, give it up.
That add-on.
All right. Just give up your left-hand side, take out his right-hand side. Just pull all the SCVs away preemptively. You're doing good.
SCVs. They're under attack.
Try to get a tank or 2 out. He's got a fair few infestors in the mix. But you're doing good. I would send Hellions to that base you killed on the left during this, because you know his Broodlords are going to rotate over here. So your Thors can kill one more expansion, and then your Thors can like pull back. But your Hellions should go hit that left. Yeah, real nice. Yep. That's like very predictable. You just pulled the Hellions back as well. Yep.
I'm waiting on you.
All right. Yep, Thors should be able to get out of there. All right. Aliens don't really find much, but they might find some drones deeper in.
Gas, buddy. Come on. You need gas.
This better be good.
Yeah, I think those Thors can get home safely. Just, okay, pull those Hellions out as well. No reason to throw them away. And you could even clear creep on the left of the map with them if you want. At this point, his creep spread is quite a pain in the anus, as Borat would say.
You're gonna need a tad bit more energy. Not enough.
Ready to plunder.
Yeah, try to, in these situations, I think it's kind of nice to just actually drop only 1 or 2 bases at a time and just leave the rest at home for scans and mules
SCVs are under attack.
and focus on actually defending your bases a little bit more. Because if you, a lot of the times I lose in this situation because I try to take 5 bases and I just lose all my SCVs and mules to like a couple Zerglings, and I also start losing orbitals because there's too much going on. It's more important to keep them ready to drop mules.
By the numbers. This better.
Insufficient vest.
Oh my. We're doing good. This is awesome.
You gonna give me orders? Been
This is by far the weirdest game I've played in a long time.
got it.
Wow, I think I'll still be ready to radio cast the grand finals of TSL, because that still has not started. Those games are going long.
Bad news.
Oh. Yeah.
Landing sequence gas, buddy. Come on, you need gas. Minerals now. Get them.
All day long. Burn rubber. I'm waiting.
Not enough minerals.
This better be good. Are you ready for this?
Send your main army to the top right. Got to defend the base.
Coming through. What's going on? Yeah.
Vikings should normally be on a different hotkey just so they can be microed a little separately. Don't want them to run forward into fungal. Okay.
Commander, the LZ is gonna be a no-go on this. Fall back. Landing sequence interrupted. Insufficient Vespine gas. Commander,
I'm in a heap of trouble.
Zerg's got some good plays.
That's a boatload of Broodlords.
Yep. Yeah, Zerg's just staying flexible. Small encounters, big, strong, slow army. Feels like they got this one in the bag.
Getting fired up here.
Sure does. I'm gonna make him work for it though.
I hear you.
Fair enough.
Are you ready for this? What's the story? Talk to me. This better be good. Transformation system.
insufficient Vespine gas.
Light. Where? Light. Hell back. Coming through. Ah! You scared me. Are you? Where's the hot action? You gonna give me orders? Babe, I'm waiting on you.
Not enough minerals.
Daylight burning.
I think a very good choice to clear the creep at this point.
Ready for this?
Even just kill that extractor on the rich base just so he doesn't have the vision there potentially. I think he's going to come fight you though. So if you want either base trade or, you know, come and try and defend either way, you can always lift that orbital temporarily. Just got to be, as always, looking for the big old wide choke points and pulling those Hellbats into your army.
You gonna give me? I'm waiting on you.
The minerals have up and gone.
Where's the hot action?
Let's pull all the reinforcing Hellbats over as well to join our force. Oh, very nice. Save you, that will not. Oh, could have cleared the creep there as well. Yeah, he's going to force the fight now, I think.
Yeah, I
He's
think so.
Looks like he's coming over, so get your fight set up.
Is there any hope of, like, how do I manage the infestors? I feel like I just died to Neural.
Minerals now.
If you don't have any tanks, it's going to be very hard. You'll just have to try and focus fire by boxing Thors and clicking on them. So spread your Thors out in a big old line, same combat formation as before. Just try to focus, scan and focus fire the with individual Thor focus fire where possible. Grab like a few Thors at a time.
Depleted.
Yeah, get those Hellions in. Very nice. All right, he's coming for you. Let's go! Good try. Got to try to box just a few Thors to click on each infestor, but even then, like, because you did have an issue where you were doing that a lot in the bigger battles. Every time you'd focus fire with the tanks, you were focus firing your entire army on each infestor. So try to do it separately. It's rough. In that fight, it was a 0-win situation. Like, you couldn't win unless he really fucked up and lost his infestors ahead of his army or something.
Yeah.
But and even then it would have been tough. But some really cool fights you took. The big point where we lost it was just to the Ling run bys, which are very hard to defend with mech when you're maxed, where you continued to push this side of the map looking for the fight, and you just sent like 3 Hellbats home, and you kind of did a thing, or maybe not 3, maybe it was 5, but it wasn't enough, right? Because he had like 100 Lings or 80 Lings or some crazy number. It was like probably 20 minutes in or something. Because you did an amazing fight, which got you back in the game, cleared his army out, remember? But then you pushed down the left-hand side, killed 2 bases, and he just refused to fight you. And he just like pulled his drones, re-expanded to the right, and you were like, oh man, because like he killed all your production. And that was where he actually did win the game with that, because he then continued to avoid fighting you over and over again, kept re-expanding, denying bases, re-expanding, backstabbing, burrow. And in the midst of that, I guess if we just committed harder to our push, once our production started dying, if you forced the push there, so about 5 minutes from now, I think that was, if you forced the push on the left-hand side of the map, you might have won. You might have won. Or if you pulled home quicker. I'm not saying either was the right decision, but we just got caught sending a few Hellions home, but not enough. And for me, I was like, well, if we're going to try to defend it, we need to kind of overcommit to that and make sure it works. But we kind of half tried to do it. Yeah, I guess this is not here. No, it's a bit later. Fast forward 8 times. It's a few. Yeah, this is the point, right? No, not yet.
I'm not exactly sure when it happened.
It'll happen maybe 23, 24. Just keep going. 8 times.
Yeah, I feel like I'm way ahead at this point.
So I noticed you don't have the tabs open. That's gotta watch more replays. I can tell you don't watch enough. I'm like, where's that unit tab? Show us the unit tab at all times so we can see the work account. Because you don't have the game hard or anything on right now, because it's just a rewind.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, those Lings were the killer, right? So if you fought him at this stage, I think you probably could have killed him. You get a pretty sick army. He can't rebuild anything, but you know what? If he defends that high ground, if he might be able to just one-shot a Thor pull back, one-shot a Shore pull back. It's hard to force the fight. So you might be like, you know what? No, just always send all my Hellions to defend in that scenario or something. More from a Hellion, send them home.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think that mistake is being more decisive about just morphing the Hellions and sending them back.
Yeah.
Because I had the servos upgrade. It would have been easy.
And I think we can also say just generally having 4 or 5 Vikings with your army, it's just one of those things. Normally it doesn't do a lot, but it just forces him to have a lot of corruptors. If he doesn't, it's just going to be super powerful for helping to deal with Broodlords, right? Especially in this case, it's Queens as infestors, but just adds a bit of range to your army. If he starts poking in and like one-shotting a Thor, your Vikings can kind of be like, wait, fuck off, and kill a Broodlord or 2 as well. But good game, dude. Cool to see the power of the Thors, setting up those big arcs, those big areas. I'm not sure how much you've done Mass Thor versus Mass Broodlord before, but a couple of really good fights in there.
I don't think I've ever had anyone go this deep in the Broodlord territory. It's pretty extreme.
Yeah, this guy was crazy. 3-3.
Either way, I appreciate the critique. I'll probably go back through the VOD and rewatch it and take some notes of my own. And I'm sure you probably gathered some of your own on the sheet, right?
Yeah, there's a few, mostly on the first few games, not many on the last one. Change hotkey for Blue Flame was the only written note for that one, because I was much more verbal in that game. Because it's on Infernal Pre-Igniter, and you went and clicked it, I saw, and I was like, ugh. Obviously, because is way out of the way, so I'm sure you've got a key available. If you think about whatever stim or whatever your other keys that you're used to pressing, just put it on that, Usually upgrade keys can be repeated over and over again, as long as it's not overlapping with a production key from that structure, right? So should be good.
Cool.
Awesome,
well, thank you very much.
No worries. Interesting session. This was fun. This was really fun. First time, I've done this. Maybe I've done it once ages ago, but I think even when I've done it in the past, very rarely with the mouse cursor. So it's good fun. Good idea, dude.
Yeah, I appreciated it. I got a lot out of it, and I don't know how much time I have left, but maybe after I get some time to try to incorporate some of this stuff into my play, we can do it again.
Yeah, we've got time for another hour, and technically an hour and a little bit, but so we could just do 1 hour and a little bit session.
Perfect.
Whatever. So just hit me up, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Good night, dude.
Yeah, see ya.